Mel Gibson. This guy had a crazy crash out. And it turns out that he was right about a few things, huh? He was right about maybe more than a few things, as a matter of fact. I find that to be interesting. That's crazy. Wow, what are the odds of that?
Mel Gibson's been trying to warn everyone about the elites for years, and in particular Hollywood itself.
Believe me, I did a lot of research on it, and according to all the research, it was way worse than that.
No matter how strong you are going to be affected by this plague, and you'll resent it for a little while, and you have to let it go. Otherwise, you'll eat yourself alive here. And I think it takes that kind of cockroach resilience to survive in this town.
Yes, nobody listened. He was just made out to be a crazy man. But today, people are finally waking up to what he saw.
It turns out all he got wrong was the city. Yeah, so he was just telling the truth.
20 years ago. And the message he gave us would eventually cost him his life.
You need a bat in the side of the head. If you get by a pack of it'll be your fault.
Yet, back in the 1980s, Gibson was so successful, he was operating at a level where studios would greenlight whatever he wanted. In 1996, Braveheart swept the Oscars, 5 wins, including Best Picture and Best Director. Gibson stood on that stage and called himself a fiscal imbecile.
And they had no problem with giving the reins to a fiscal imbecile. You know, this takes real courage.
And everyone laughed because he made them all very rich. But if you were paying attention around then, there were signs he saw Hollywood very differently than most people who'd made it to his level. In 1998, Playboy did an interview, and buried in all the usual promotional stuff about whatever film he was selling, he said something that did raise some eyebrows. He talked about a producer, but he wouldn't name him, whose entire philosophy about women on film was this.
He says, women on film, either naked or dead. Both is better.
Then he kept on going.
You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And I formed a bunch of opinions about the town, about the people in it, that were like, surely that couldn't be.
There's no way.
A whole place can't be like, you know, Weird Town, you know, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up when he looks at them. And then you go away and you think, no, I was wrong. I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid. I imagined that stuff. And then you find out later on the track that you are exactly on track with a lot of this stuff.
They ask him about the social contract in Hollywood, and Gibson explains,
you can't get mad. You can't let it get you, because you have to make a deal with everyone else, and it's almost unspoken that you are going to be over at some point by people who you may have done something nice for.
He also tells a surreal story about meeting Christopher Walken on a New York rooftop, which he's obviously dramatizing, but if you don't take it at face value, it does tell you something about the almost otherworldly nature of Hollywood from the outsider's perspective.
No, he came to see me on a rooftop in New York. I said, hey, can I talk to you? And he said, sure. He floated in, sideways, through a crowd of people. He was wearing black. And it was like one of those old vampire movies where they don't walk, but they glide. And he was a dancer, you know, so he has very, you know, graceful. And my assistant was there, and he left because he couldn't stand it anymore. The air had turned cold.
This was when Gibson was in the spotlight 24/7, and he was already letting on about some of the industry's practices. He was trying to articulate something that had remained unspoken. His reputation was very much a lovable rogue or a loose cannon, so nobody really paid attention at the time. He was also making everyone way too rich for them to bother with what he was saying in a magazine interview.
No, people might not remember, like, this guy was like, any movie that he was in, everybody went to see it. Like, he was like the biggest movie star. Like, I remember whenever The Patriot came out, Braveheart, like, holy fuck. Everybody was Signs. No, not Signs. Was it Signs? Yeah, I think it was Signs. Like, yeah, megastar. He was the biggest guy.
But maybe he could see it
Lethal
more clearly
Weapon. I forgot
because
about
he
that.
wasn't made
Mad
in Hollywood
Max.
the way most people at his level were. He wasn't some Nepo or Hollywood adjacent. His family moved from New York to Australia when he was just 12 after his dad won a workplace injury settlement. He had no connections and no industry parents carefully managing his rise.
See, that's right, bro. Like, this guy just made it out the mud. Actually, literally, because it's Australia.
studied acting because his sister filled out the application without telling him. Then Mad Max turned him into a global star before he even learned how the system truly functioned. Mad Max came in clutch, and it happened in the most Mel Gibson way ever. He'd been in a bar fight the day before the interview he didn't even want to go to, and his
fucking legend. Absolute fucking legend.
face was all bruised and swollen. He looked like the perfect post-apocalyptic tough guy, and not long after, he got the job. Mad Max absolutely smashed the box office, and he became a star. Relocating to Hollywood was just the next logical step. So the peculiar thing here is that by the time he showed up in LA for the film Lethal Weapon, he was already famous. That
I mean, like, because it wasn't even Mad Max at the beginning, it was The Road Warrior. And then after that, it was Mad Max. And then I think after that was Thunderdome. And I think that's what... there might have been another one, but I'm not sure.
It's because he didn't owe anyone. He didn't have to spend years...
Because the thing is that... I was a big fan of Fist of the North Star. I love the anime. I think it's amazing, right? Kenshiro is fucking a G. I didn't realize, because I thought, oh, well, like, JoJo just copied Fist of the North Star, and Fist of the North Star was the OG. Nah, bro. Like, Fist of the North Star was Mad Max. It was the original Mad Max. 1 for 1. Especially the villains.
Figuring out which executives to flatter or when to shut up and smile. Most people who make it to
Look
Gibson's level learned early that you treat the industry like a religion. You never forget that access requires submission. Gibson missed that entire education. But he did have some very real personal problems that began to unravel. His drinking is getting worse, his marriage is falling apart, his behavior is bordering on too eccentric, posing a risk for those around him. He also began making a name for himself as a homophobe and anti-Semite after a series of drunk conversations.
Yeah, and that Jew stuff, bro.
Then he decides he's going to make a movie that's basically designed to detonate every relationship he has in Hollywood. I'm of course talking about The Passion of the Christ.
Think about the fact that The Passion of the Christ was the movie that people wanted to cut ties with him for. Making a movie about Jesus. That's crazy, right? Can you believe that? And so I've told this before. My mom probably took me to 3 movies in my life. The only one that I really remember, Passion of the Christ. That was the one, and she said, we're going to watch this in movie theaters. And I remember whenever we went there, it was a bunch of other fucking moms, Catholic moms with their kids, and the theater was so packed, we had to sit up in the front and go like this. We had to go like this the whole time. I remember that so well.
2002, he was planning a film about Jesus getting tortured,
like Mel Gibson?
initially planning to shoot it entirely in Aramaic and Latin, dead languages that nobody can really understand. He didn't even want subtitles for it. So he starts taking meetings, Fox, Universal, Warner Bros, Disney, every major studio, 7 in total, and none are interested whatsoever.
I wonder why.
Part of it is about the commercial concern, but there's something else making studios nervous before he's even shot a single frame. The Anti-Defamation League, an American charity targeting anti-Semites, gets hold of an early script and immediately starts raising the alarm. The National
Passion relies on the theme of anti-Semitism. Man. That's crazy.
Director of the Anti-Defamation League said, quote, "By all appearances, Mr. Gibson has moved ahead with his plans to base his film based on the traditional passion play narrative that blames Jews for the killing of Jesus. For those who will see this film, the poisonous accusation that the Jews were responsible for the killing of Jesus will be unambiguous and clear. Gibson's already got baggage here. His father was a Holocaust denier, and when pressured, he said that my dad taught me my faith and I believe what he taught me. The man never lied to me in his life. So the criticism starts building. New York Times critic Frank Rich questions whether the film could fuel anti-Semitism. Gibson's response...
Oh yeah, people went so hard as fuck against this. Like, I remember this movie was so controversial. It was more controversial than Cuties. And I want y'all to think about that. So Cuties was it was a Netflix like movie that basically had like a bunch of young girls sexualizing themselves, and it was weird, right? But it was more controversial than that. What are the odds of that? Well, actually, they're pretty high. It's like 100%. But yeah, that's what happened.
He tells the New Yorker, I want to kill him. I want his intestines on a stick. I want to kill his dog.
Fuck. Then Gibson explained his feelings about Rich. Is that right?
So this man is kind of losing control, and every studio is watching it build into a PR nightmare. The funding dries up rapidly after that, and he practically becomes a laughingstock. He's putting his entire reputation in Hollywood on this movie. South Park then catches the zeitgeist with The Passion of the Jew. Stan and Kenny see the film, hate it, call it a snuff film, and track down Gibson for a refund. Their version of Gibson is completely unhinged, a masochistic lunatic running around shooting guns and literally defecating on people. Gibson's response at the time was defiance. He self-finances the entire production.
Paid for the entire fucking thing, $30 million of his own money. And this was in like the early 2000s. So like the equivalent of this is like $100 million. Like he went so hard on this. It was crazy.
Mortgaging property, coming up with $45 million.
Oh, 45. Oh my God.
Out of his own pocket. If this bombs, he's then personally destroyed. So the film opens on Ash Wednesday, 2004.
Man, I remember that's crazy. I think back on that. Yeah.
Critics are split. There are massive protests outside theaters, but also massive lines of people wanting to see it. It then goes on to gross $83 million in its opening weekend, and goes on to make $612 million worldwide.
There's a lot of Christians out there. That's crazy. Today's Ash Wednesday today? Wait, is it really? I didn't even know that. As I said, I put it down. If the Pope funds a crusade for us to go and protect the Christians in Africa, I go back to Mass. That's my line in the sand. That's where I'm at.
Grossing R-rated film at the time. Gibson then personally walks away with somewhere between $400 and $475 million.
And that's what really made the hoes mad. That's what really made them mad. It's the fact that they all went against him. This guy went all in, literal leap of faith. $45 million of his own money in 2003, 2004. I forgot what it said. I think it said 2004. He did all of this, and then he made $400 fucking million. That's what really made them mad. That's what pissed them off.
So from the industry's perspective, he has now made...
Because it shows a crack in the matrix. It shows a crack in the fabric of the illusion that's created, that making things that are central around, the Christian faith or Catholicism is somehow not possible, not feasible, not financially viable. It just takes all that and rolls it up and smokes it. And that's the reason why they're fucking mad.
One of the most profitable films in history, even after every major studio rejected it entirely on his own terms. On the Joe Rogan Experience, Gibson talked about how turbulent this was.
That was a crazy movie because it was a great movie.
Yeah, he remembers.
It seemed like there was resistance to that movie.
There was so much resistance. Like, it was so controversial. People were angry as fuck.
Oh yeah, no, there was
which I thought was very strange. There was like Hollywood resistance to that movie.
Absolutely.
Like, people didn't like that you were making it. It seemed like
there was a lot of opposition to it, and I don't know. I think if you ever hit on that subject matter, you're gonna get people going, because
of course,
dude. Oh, God. Bro. You really had to hit him with that? Well, oh my God.
It's big subject matter.
He even
Big
said how
subject
Hollywood was
matter.
stunned by him walking around the system and scoring a massive hit without going
Yep.
through the usual channels.
And there was this kind of thing in town. In
Someone in chat called him Goydemort.
the town, they said, did anyone just see that? Anyone just see what that guy did? Can't let that guy do that again. You know,
Yeah.
because it sort of walked around the entire system.
It was a well-received podcast because Gibson, for all his woes, came across as more down-to-earth than your average massive star. Comments observed that he was holding back on topics that people wouldn't be prepared to hear about.
And that's the crazy thing, is that after this recent Epstein files drop, and after they brought out all the files, I think people owe this guy an apology. I think they do. They got to say, listen, man, maybe you were right about some of these things. That's crazy. Wow, what are the odds of that?
Passion ultimately took its toll on Gibson, and 2 years later, everything fell apart. In 2006, he got pulled over drunk in Malibu, and during the arrest, he goes on this anti-Semitic run to the
I remember very clearly, like, it's funny, I think about this. I remember very clearly my dad and I were talking about this while we were driving to Wendy's.
deputy, which leaked. Gibson then apologized
Drunk
and
on
admits
Wendy's.
he's an alcoholic, calling
Yeah.
his behavior despicable. He pleaded no contest to misdemeanor DUI, received 3 years probation, and immediately pushed out carefully worded apologies through his publicist.
Yeah.
Court says the 53-year-old Gibson successfully completed terms of his 3-year probation. Gibson was arrested for driving drunk in Malibu in July of 2006, and during the arrest, the actor-director made derogatory comments about Jews and women, tried to escape, and
Yeah.
repeatedly threatened the arresting deputy.
While also admitting to being an alcoholic for decades.
Because you're dealing with a sort of a malady of the soul, an obsession of the mind, and a physical allergy. And some people need a big tap on the shoulder. In my case, public humiliation on a global scale seems to be what was required.
But it was all just damage limitation, and the industry's response is instant and total. To everyone who criticized his views, this DUI and his unsavory run
Total
that accompanied
fucking
it was just
validation.
the smoking gun. Apocalypto, a film he directed and one of his best, was already in post-production, and its release was pushed back to avoid negative press. But after that, the upper echelons of Hollywood were closing ranks.
Yeah,
Soon
that was like the last movie he was really doing. And like that was a movie he directed. I remember watching that movie. I watched that movie with mom. You know what? It's actually like, damn, I haven't thought about this for a long time. The last movie that I remember my mom watching was Apocalyptico. Like back before she went to the hospital. Like it was because I remember I went in there and we were watching the first half of it. I didn't think about that. But yeah. It was terrifying. Yeah, I remember the first time I watched that shit scared the fuck out of me. Absolutely.
After Ari Emanuel, one of the most powerful agents in the industry, publishes an open letter calling for everyone to boycott Gibson. Quote, Hollywood should not do business with Mel Gibson until he demonstrates a real understanding
People in the entertainment industry, whether Jew or Gentile,
of the harm he has caused. Being drunk doesn't make you say things you don't believe. It makes you say
sometimes it does.
things you already believe. If this industry looks the other way,
That's why I don't get drunk.
a message that success excuses hate. And then things got worse. In July of 2010, Mel Gibson then found himself at the center of another major scandal when audio recordings surfaced from a phone call with his then partner. In the recordings, Gibson makes an explicitly racist remark suggesting that if she was assaulted, it would be somehow her fault. In the same conversation, he's also heard threatening to burn down her house while she was inside of it. And apparently there were actually some 35 minutes of deranged phone calls that leaked to the press in total.
Yep.
I don't work around in tight clothes. I stay at home for most of the
You go out
time.
in public and it's an embarrassment to me. You look
Man.
like a bitch on heat, and if you get by a pack of it'll be your fault. All right?
God.
Because you provoked it. I'll report her to the people that take fucking money from the wetbacks, okay? Pat the side of the head. All right? How about that?
You're racist as hell.
I'm threatening. I'll put you in a rose garden, you.
Holy shit.
Because I'm capable of it. You understand?
The fact that she recorded
He's
all of
on
this
one.
says a lot. And as the situation escalated, he was legally barred from coming near her or their daughter under a domestic violence-related
that makes
restraining
sense.
order.
Yeah.
Those 6 years of major scandals shattered Mel Gibson's career. Nobody would touch him.
Yep.
From 2006 to 2016, Mel Gibson appeared in one film called The Edge of Darkness, a film where he plays a man who discovers that powerful institutions are conspiring to cover up crimes, and
Is that right?
he's the lone truth seeker willing to die to expose them. Whether intentional or not, it was a perfect mirror into how
Yeah.
Gibson saw himself.
That's crazy.
Around that time, accusations of game playing surrounding Gibson's exile from Hollywood began to surface too. When Ari Emanuel published the letter demanding that Gibson would be expelled from Hollywood,
And
he
by
was
the way, remember what I said about the wizard thing? Remember what I said? See?
represented by Ed Lamato at ICM. So Emanuel's taking this principled stand while actually kneecapping
See,
a
people don't
rival's
wanna listen to
agency's
that.
biggest star. In
wanna hear
2009, Lamato moves to William Morris, bringing Gibson with him, and the agencies merge. Suddenly, Gibson is now Emanuel's
The Grand
client
Wizard?
through that same veteran agent. So does Emanuel drop him on principle? No. He keeps him quietly on the books, and nobody says anything about the contradiction until he was booted from the books again following the episode between him and his wife. While Gibson was slinking around the fringes of Hollywood, in 2007, Robert Downey Jr. stood up for him, and this was when
Fucking based. Crash out, recognize, crash out. So true. Yep.
things began to turn around.
I humbly ask that you join me, unless you are completely without sin, in which case you picked the wrong industry, in forgiving my friend his trespasses, offering him the same clean slate you have me, and allowing him to continue his great and ongoing contribution to our collective art without shame.
Jodie Foster and Whoopi Goldberg also publicly defended him. Whoopi said that he spent many days with her kids.
She used to be cool. I don't know what the hell happened. She used to be so cool. Like I've probably seen like 15 movies with Whoopi Goldberg. Like I don't know what happened.
And that he categorically wasn't racist.
But I know Mel, and I know he's not a racist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do. But I can't sit and say that he's a racist, having spent time with him in my house with my kids. I can't say it.
He was going through intense therapy at the time and seemed very keen to rehabilitate himself and his public image. But Robert Downey Jr.'s point hits on an extremely important point about the industry, bringing us right back to Gibson's own comments from 1998, involving the producer who wanted women either naked or dead. This is now widely suspected to refer to Harvey Weinstein.
You know what I think is funny? Is it's probably another one. It probably actually wasn't Harvey Weinstein. It's probably another guy. But what do you think the odds are that he's the only one? Really? Like, what do you think about that?
Years before this became public. While the wheels are coming off Gibson's career, Weinstein is operating openly. Allegations followed him for years. People like Tarantino surrounded him. There were whispers at parties, jokes about it at award shows, and shockingly acknowledged behind closed doors, and yet nothing happened. Courtney Love makes a joke about him in 2005.
Yeah, this was crazy about him asking you to go somewhere, don't go. Yeah, I remember this.
Do you have any advice for a young girl moving to Hollywood? I'll get live with us.
Harvey Weinstein invites you to a private party in the Four Seasons downtown.
And this joke effectively blacklisted her from Hollywood. Weinstein kept working until 2017, until 80 women.
Didn't they? I heard that Peter Jackson made that one orc in the Siege of Minas Tirith. I heard that he made the orc based off of this guy. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's what I want to believe.
Came forward.
It is what I want to believe.
Expose his decades of abuse and
Gothmog, there it
blacklisted
is.
by Hollywood in the aftermath. But
That was
he's
also
just
the
one
dragon,
of many.
the flightless
Roman
dragon.
Polanski pleaded guilty to unlawful sex with a 13-year-old in 1977.
Not
when
good.
He then fled the country. At the 2003
Not good at all.
Oscars, 26 years later, he wins Best Director and gets a standing ovation.
So he gets a standing ovation after he rapes a 13-year-old? Huh. That seems pretty bad. That seems not so good.
Roman Polanski.
Or the pianist.
Woody Allen faces allegations from his adopted daughter. Court documents later show nearly 100 meetings with Jeffrey Epstein. Police.
I had no idea. Island? What island? What do you mean? That's a lot of meetings.
Never left the big time and still regularly makes blockbusters.
He does.
Filmmaker Bryan Singer faced multiple allegations and settled lawsuits, yet he kept on getting hired. Bohemian Rhapsody won 4 Oscars not long ago. The list is pretty much endless, and if anything, it gets...
And keep in mind, like, I'm trying to remember this about Bohemian Rhapsody. That movie, didn't Sacha Baron Cohen turn down playing Freddie Mercury because they wanted to play like a PG version of it and not actually the story of Freddie Mercury? Like, I'm trying to remember this. This is a long time ago. So that was some bullshit too, huh? Man, I don't think that's true. I feel like, honestly, like, I usually don't remember shit the wrong way.
Worse the deeper you look. Victor
wrong.
Salva was convicted in 1988 for sexually abusing a 12-year-old. He
15 months in prison? Wait, why? I feel like that should be longer than this. You read this, right? Served 15 months in prison after pleading guilty to lewd and lascivious conduct, oral sex with a person under 14, and for procuring a child for pornography. Like, I feel like you should go to jail for like 15 years. Like, you should be lucky that you get out of this with your organs. What are we talking about? What the hell's going on?
served only 15 months. And then Hollywood kept on hiring him to direct children's movies. They kept separating art from artists when it's convenient. Dan Schneider, all these guys, which sends...
Remember that fat Nickelodeon piece of shit?
Very clear economic
message.
Employing problematic people is fine as long as they continue to serve the right ends.
As long as it's not the wrong problems.
This isn't a game of whataboutery. Hollywood is a system where morals are relative. It's not about the severity of what you did, it's about how politically expensive it becomes to ignore it. Gibson's anti-Semitism and abuse, especially in an industry full of Jewish people, is unforgivable to many. And Robert Downey Jr.'s plea for mercy doesn't really erase that. But Hollywood didn't exile him because those things are morally worse than drugging and...
No, they were against him ever since he did The Passion of the Christ. I think that really is what it was. And like before then, he was like he was kind of like Donald Trump was before he ran for president, where like everybody knew kind of he was like a bit of a crazy asshole, but people generally had like a more than favorable opinion of him. People liked him. But then after Passion of the Christ, people really tried to figure out reasons for why he was a bad dude. Like, I think that's what it was. Tom Cruise prequel? Yeah, maybe, right?
Assaulting people or fleeing the country after pleading guilty to raping a child.
That's crazy.
They exiled him because his
insane.
scandals were loud, public, and impossible to spin. The industry is
selective. I mean, honestly, like I feel like it's not even that. I mean, I totally actually I disagree with this. I think that they made it bigger than it was. Because, like, there's no universe where somebody hating Jews and saying the N-word is worse than, like, having... I don't even like to say having sex with. It's raping a 13-year-old, right? Like, that is... There's no universe where that's worse. It's not even close.
About who becomes the boogeyman, and that selection has nothing to do with who actually did the worst things. Gibson's redemption arc continued in...
they made it that bad. They, like, I mean, this is all collective. Like, you think the people in media and the people that work in like fucking PR don't work with these actors and work with producers? Like, obviously they do. It's all a big club. Of course.
2016, when he released Hacksaw Ridge, a World War II film about a conscientious objector who saved 75 men without firing a weapon.
Oh, it was
went on to receive 6 Oscar nominations. It was independently financed with no major studios involved, but this time, instead of punishing him, they welcomed him back. Gibson appeared on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. He called his past a rough patch, and he said that moment should...
And that's the thing is, I remember whenever Stephen Colbert did this, and I was like, you know, like, this is respectable, right? Like, this is the problem that I have. This is the reason why, like, it's been hard for me to, like, really hate Stephen Colbert. It's because, like, I feel like, you know, looking back on it, like, last 20 years, I've watched Stephen Colbert now for 20 years. For, like, 15 of those years, or at least the first 10, I really liked him a lot. I did. I thought he was great. And he did things like this that I thought were positive and good. I don't know what the fuck happened. I really don't. It's just sad, man. It's fucking sad.
Find the rest of my life.
Like, you went from doing shit like this and the Colbert Report to dancing around like a little fairy about the COVID vaccine. How the fuck does that happen? Really? How does that happen?
The crowd cheered, others said it wasn't enough. Slowly the roles came back, like Get the Gringo, Fat Man, Bloodfather, and Daddy's Home 2. And Gibson's appearances were generally viewed positively, even if they weren't anything like the massive titles he once starred in. Of course. Then, 2023, Gibson's name gets attached to The Sound of Freedom.
Uh-oh.
Film about child trafficking, starred by the same guy who played Jesus in The Passion. Gibson was serving as executive producer and recorded a promotional video warning
I've actually never watched this.
People about child trafficking. Originally, the film was acquired by 20th Century Fox, yet it was shelved after Disney acquired Fox in 2019.
Why?
It had a budget of just some $15 million, and accusations that Hollywood was trying to blacklist came flooding in when it launched, with some saying that showings at popular cinema chains were cancelled or even sabotaged. The film itself leans heavily into the idea that influential people are involved in trafficking and the problem is just being covered up internationally. Something.
What are the odds of that? There's no way, right? There's no way they could all be in on it.
Gibson has certainly alluded to over the years.
There's no way.
One of the most disturbing problems in our world today is human trafficking, and particularly the trafficking of children.
Many scoffed at the notion.
Oh, here it is.
That pedophile rings were being run by rich elites. But as Jeffrey Epstein's operation has come into the light, the flight logs, the witness testimony, connections to world leaders and billionaires, this conspiracy theory has just become a fact the establishment tried to ignore for years. Around the film's release, viral quotes started spreading about Gibson's conspiratorial view, claiming he exposed elites drinking children's blood, Andrew comb harvesting, and satanic rituals. QAnon.
Yeah? That right? How about that?
Type stories. Every single quote attributed to Gibson is fake. They trace only to YourNewsWire.com, a notorious misinformation site. Maybe it's part of yet another smear campaign designed to muddy Gibson.
So they're trying to make this guy look bad by giving him fake quotes?
Rehabilitation and feed tabloid headlines to keep his reputation questionable.
The fuck out of here.
Or maybe it's a manifestation of him becoming a symbol onto which both sides of the culture war paints their narratives. To some, he's a martyred truth teller. To others, a cautionary tale of when mental health issues.
I mean, I think obviously, like, I mean, here's my opinion about Mel Gibson. I like Mel Gibson a lot. He's a fucking, like, I mean, I was born 1990, right? I mean, like, I remember watching The Patriot on a VHS and my fucking CRT TV with my mom and dad, right? So, like, you're never going to get me to hate Mel Gibson, number one. There's, like, you're never going to get me to hate Mel Gibson. You're never going to get me to hate Michael Jackson. You're never going to get me to hate Michael Jordan. You're never going to get me to hate fucking, like, I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. But, like, that's a three right there. And so, like, Braveheart, yep, same thing, absolutely 100%. So, you know, again, Jackie Chan, yeah, you're not going to get me to hate Jackie Chan. Some weird shit, I don't give a fuck. Jackie Chan's a legend. And so, yeah, anything else? Bruce Willis, yep, definitely. I go on. Arnold Schwarzenegger, yeah, 100%. I do think, obviously, like, he had a drinking problem, and that was a bad thing, and it was not good. And I think, in a way, it was probably a good thing that he got ostracized, because it's like, you know, and I bet he probably would say this himself. Because, like, you know, he say, oh, God works in mysterious ways, right? I mean, if he didn't have that happen, he might not have never like gone after and got help, and he might have fucked up his whole life. He might have gotten put in jail. He might have gotten himself killed. He could have, you know, like maybe you know, permanently damaged his body. Like, because there are people that have that happen. Does it actually? I don't know if he does or not, but like, it's a wake call. So like, it's not like he was perfect, right? But I think also there's another component to this that's worth talking about, which is the fact that, you know, why is it that, you know, maybe he was doing this a lot? Well, if you get put in a position where you have to constantly deal with people that think women should either be naked or dead or both, and you're talking about these like satanic cults and like these weird kids and all this shit, that's going to fuck your head up. It really is. It's obviously going to fuck your head up. So it's like, I don't think that, like, I'm not saying it's not his fault. At the end of the day, it's still his fault. But I think that probably being around that fucks you up too. It does.
Anger take hold of someone. Either way, the fake quotes spread because they sound like what people already believe about him. That was South Park's parody too. They were saying Gibson made this very public monster out of himself. In reality, the truth behind Gibson's criticism...
I mean, if he made the monster out of himself, then why is it that those other people that were having, you know, raping underage girls, why did they not? It's because you made it happen. You pull the strings and then you say that it's his fault.
Of the establishment is probably more of a case of something simpler yet no less horrifying. The banality of evil. Thousands of people making small, cowardly decisions that add up to systemic abuse.
That's
which is far more disturbing because...
That's what happens with the government, by the way. Like fraud and shit like that, that's the banality of evil. It's like 50 people with malicious compliance.
Implicates everyone through their daily choices in supporting and protecting
they
the
put their
industry.
2 cents
Unlike blood drinking rituals, everyone is capable given the right incentives. When asked at the Hacksaw Ridge press conference to describe Hollywood in one word, Gibson laughed. Just one word? Then he gave his answer: survival. He's right. Everyone's trying to survive, and survival means making calculations about who you can cross and who you can't. But Hollywood's evil operates on a different level altogether. It's not the deranged actions of a troubled man. It's structural, institutional. It's the sober, calculated decision.
I think it's also like, I mean, ever since Harvey Weinstein happened, I feel like the amount that people want to hear about actors talking about politics or whatever the fuck else, I feel like it went down by a lot. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, I mean, because if you can't, like, I don't want to hear about your moralization whenever you turn a blind eye to this stuff happening, right? I don't want to hear about it. Like, not, you know, it's like, it's an example, like, even best case scenario, right message, wrong messenger. Nope, not from you.
Protect people for decades. So in the end, there are no heroes in this story, just different flavors of the same human capacity to harm people and justify it in the morning.
No, I totally agree. I love this video. This is a great video. Like, I'm glad to see people, like, I mean, I really think that, honestly, a lot of people owe him an apology. Especially, like, the worst thing to me was what happened to him with Passion of the Christ. Like, W. Moon. Yeah, Moon makes great videos. He pumps these out, too. He puts a lot of these videos out. And I think that they're pretty high quality. I like them a lot. Make sure to give it a like. Give him a sub if you haven't already. He's got over 1 million subs. He could use some more. Yeah, Ricky Gervais bombed Hollywood at Grammys. Yeah, he did. And people never forget that. Absolutely. So I make all my decisions based on what Billie Eilish says. Well, I mean, again, I don't really blame her because, like, she's young, right? So, like, she wasn't involved whenever that stuff happened. But, like, that was just stupid for different reasons. But, like, yeah, overall, that's the way I feel about it. What are your thoughts on some of the deaths and suicides of high-profile actors like Robin Williams and Chester Bennington were really murders? So people also, like, add in, because, like, it's those two. And it's also Anthony Bourdain. That's right. People said the same thing about him. I don't really know what to think about it, if you want me to be honest. I really don't know what to think about it. I don't know what to go with it or anything else. I don't. Like, I don't know what to think. Like, Chris Cornell? Yeah. Damn, I forgot all about that. And so the lady from Purse Company, a lot of people have had that happen. And so, like, to me, what do I think about it? I don't really have a lot to think about it because I don't know a lot about it, right? I mean, like, I don't know. Because, like, I don't want to take and, like, invalidate a person's mental problems and, like, mental struggles and say that, oh, it was just a big conspiracy and they killed you or something like that. Because I think that there are people that have mental health problems and it is legitimate, and that's the reason why they did it. It's not some sort of fucking Illuminati. It's just a tragedy. But I think that, you know, with Robin Williams, I think for sure, not for sure, but, like, I'm more certain that that's the case. Chester Bennington, like, there were some things that happened before he died that, like, may be uncertain. Same thing with Anthony Bourdain. But, like, I don't think that there's enough evidence that at least I've seen that's public for me to say that, yeah, for sure, that's what happened.